The comic book industry is full of people who want to be Alan Moore, which is fine, I guess. I mean, he is one of the best comic book writers of all time. But my question is, why doesn't anyone want to be Stan Lee? Every writer nowadays wants to create the next Watchmen, but no one wants to create the next Spider-Man. And Tom King is one of those people. So today, I'm going to be talking about Tom King and what I love and hate about his style of writing and the problem that I think him and a lot of other writers have. First off, I just want to say I like Tom King, and I think generally speaking he's a good writer, but he's no Alan Moore. He keeps trying to be. He's always trying to deconstruct every comic book hero he can get his hands on, but oftentimes that results in a swing and a miss. I think Tom King is better when he leans more Stan Lee than when he tries to imitate Alan Moore. Stan Lee's specialty was writing a fun adventure book that made you root for the hero. On top of that, you couldn't help but smile while reading a Stan Lee book. I got that same feeling when reading Batman 54 by Tom King. It's a great book that feels different than 90% of Tom King's other stories, but also feels somewhat similar to some of Stan Lee's work. Batman issue 54 is a fantastic one-shot that's fun and has a lot of heart. The book is about determination as well as examining Bruce and Dick's relationship. It takes place 4 issues after Selina left Bruce at the altar, so Bruce is not in a good place right now. He took a little bit of time off, so Dick filled in as Batman. Now Bruce is back and tells Dick he can leave, but Dick doesn't want to. He wants to hang around for a bit to make sure Bruce is alright. Like most Tom King stories, this one has an A and B plot. Plot A is in the present, showing us Batman, Nightwing taking down different villains and hanging out at Wayne Manor together. Plot B is about when Bruce first took Dick in after his parents died. Both plots are interesting and fun to read about. Plot A has Dick helping Bruce out, and Plot B is vice versa. In the present, we see Bruce being emotionally distant. He even tells Dick he doesn't need him. In the past, we see a young Dick Grayson doing the same thing. Dick is upset about his parents dying and doesn't see Bruce as a genuine, caring person. He thinks Bruce is just some rich guy with a lot of toys, and Dick is his newest toy. With Dick in the present and Bruce in the past, we see both of them never giving up and continuing to persevere to help each other. In the end, they both end up helping each other to get through their respective hardships. It was a great book with a nice message behind it, and Tom King nailed both Batman and Dick Grayson's personalities. There's a lot of witty banter in it, and I love the way he writes Dick Grayson in the book, and his Batman is written well also, even though I know a lot of people tend to criticize his Batman, myself included, but in this book, it was fitting considering everything that happened with him being left at the altar, and him and Dick's interaction is great, and the chemistry there is perfect, and he nails it. This story definitely felt very Stan Lee-esque. There was an interesting story with a good message and fun characters, but nothing too deep. It didn't deconstruct anything or try to make you guess what the book was about. It was simply a good comic. But that isn't always enough for Tom King. Sometimes he wants to be Alan Moore, and that's where things get bad. Now that I just covered one of my favorite Tom King books, let's talk about one of his worst, Heroes in Crisis. At the time of this recording, 7 issues of this 9-part series are out. While we don't know how it ends, I can safely say that nothing can save this book. These 7 issues have been an absolute chore to read. Tom King seems to think he is writing a very sophisticated book, but it's not. It's just terrible. The biggest mistake Tom King makes with this comic is putting the story ahead of the characters. King makes the characters fit into his story no matter if it makes sense or not. Every single hero in this book is written out of character, and every single one of them speaks the same. I think when it comes to characters, Tom King could definitely take a few notes from J Tomasi, who is currently one of my favorite writers at DC, and he is writing Detective Comics as of the time of this recording, and he's also writing the Super Sons miniseries, and he's written a bunch of other characters like Green Lantern Corps, Superman, and Batman, Robin, and he's done a bunch of stuff, and everything I've read of his I've really enjoyed. And he recently had an AMA on Reddit, and a fan asked him about all the different characters he's written, like how he really understood them so well, because each one felt like themselves. It didn't feel like J Tomasi's version of that character, it felt like that character. And he responded with this, saying, "The best thing to do is read a chunk of runs of the respective characters and boil it down to the pure DNA of each character. I make bullet points of who they are and what they want. It's all about immersing yourself in their world and then getting the hell out of the way and let them get in your head. And it doesn't hurt to walk around the room with a bat cowl on or a GL ring on and recite your dialogue either." See, now, I don't think Tom King does any of that. Not that every single person has to be the same as J Tomasi, but I think this is a really smart approach to writing characters that aren't yours. Because, you know, Batman doesn't belong to Tom King. He's writing him, but he doesn't belong to Tom King. He is a DC comic book character that people expect certain things of, and for him to act a certain way. And same with all these heroes and Heroes in Crisis. like Wally West. People expect him to act a certain way because we have a history of that character and story arcs that show us how this character acts. But Tom King decides, nah, I'm going to put all that aside and write him how I want him to, so that way he can fit in my story. Instead of trying to make my story mold around these characters, I'm going to have them fit inside and just shove them in there. Instead of being like, oh, maybe I should change this here because maybe Superman wouldn't do that, or maybe Wally wouldn't do that. He's like, no, I have a story written this specific way. I don't care who the character is. They're going to do A, B, and C. And also, I don't think he repeats his dialogue to himself. I don't think he reads it out loud because, especially his Heroes in Crisis dialogue. Like I said, in Batman 54, the dialogue's really good for the most part. But in Heroes in Crisis, the dialogue has been so cringeworthy and absolutely terrible. And a lot of his stuff in certain books, the dialogue's really weird and it doesn't sound like real people speaking. I saw someone on a comment somewhere, I can't remember where, but they were talking about his run on Vision. They're like, oh wow, his dialogue's really cool how he chose them to speak like that because they're robots, it makes sense. And then they're like, but then I read every single other Tom King book and all the dialogues like that. And they're like, oh, so that wasn't a stylistic choice that he chose specifically for the Vision book. That's just how he thinks people talk. And that's a problem with Tom King that I think he needs to fix. But again, there are some times with it, like with Batman 54, where he nails it and he gets the characters. But then there are other times where that's not the case at all. I think Batman 54 is the exception, not the rule. But anyways, back to talking about Heroes in Crisis and the dialogue. The dialogue is just so rough. Ugh. The dialogue is interchangeable. No one talks differently. The number of times every single character says like in issue 7 is absurd. It's like an amateur writer. It really feels like someone that just read an Alan Moore book and was like, I could do that. I could do some deep, dark book that'll deconstruct heroes and be super interesting. And then it's just terrible and the dialogue is awful and it's not good. But on top of all that and the terrible dialogue, King also makes sure the characters' actions don't make any sense. For instance, Batgirl is suddenly BFFs with Harley Quinn. Yeah, the former villain who was banging the guy that paralyzed her, but who cares? They're both females in the Batman universe, so of course they're pals. That's what Tom King sees it as, at least. The plot in Heroes in Crisis is that there's a sanctuary for damaged and depressed heroes. They can go there to get therapy and try to heal. Well, someone killed all the heroes there, and the primary suspects are Harley Quinn and Booster Gold, since they were the only ones that survived the massacre. So with all this going on, the heroes are hunting Booster Gold and Harley Quinn. But Batgirl decides to find Harley before Batman does, so she can help her because she sees her and Harley as kindred spirits. Harley and Batgirl team up to find Booster Gold. Harley tells Batgirl a dozen times she's going to kill Booster, and Batgirl always tells her not to do it. But once they find Booster, he's with Blue Beetle, and Harley attacks him while Batgirl and Blue Beetle watch. Booster is fine because he has a shield that Harley can't penetrate, but Batgirl realizes that Booster's shield is powered by Blue Beetle's ship, and Blue Beetle's ship is powered by Blue Beetle's consciousness. So Batgirl knocks out Blue Beetle, and thus enabling Harley Quinn to kill Booster Gold. No, I'm not making that up. Tom King wrote it so Batgirl trusts Harley Quinn, a murderer and former supervillain who told Batgirl she was going to kill Booster multiple times, more than she trusts actual superheroes. So yes, she just helped Harley Quinn murder Booster Gold right there. She was fully complicit in that. That's just how Tom King wrote Babs in this. Anyways, Harley is about to kill Booster, but last second decides not to, but that doesn't change the fact that she was going to, and Batgirl helped her attempt to murder a superhero. Batgirl never do that. This whole series, Barbara has been written extremely out of character, just like everyone else. Babs is generally a very smart person and logical thinker, but Tom King writes her as a reckless idiot trying to help her girl pal out. And that's just one character. Every single hero in this series is written terrible and their actions make no sense. There you have it, one instance of Tom King writing a great story with a good message and fun characters, and another instance where King wrote a terrible story where nothing makes sense and the characters are forced to act differently than themselves to fit his story. And I think the difference here comes back to the storytelling styles of Stan Lee and Alan Moore. Both guys are great. They're really good writers, but Tom King obviously is no Alan Moore. Tom King thrives when he's writing a fun adventure book with heroes acting like themselves, not when trying to deconstruct everything and making everyone depressed. But yeah, I don't want people to get the wrong impression with this video to make it seem like I'm saying Tom King is bad and he has to write this certain way and everyone should write this certain way and I know everything because I'm just a great author. No, I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm not a writer. I couldn't even be close to as good of a writer as Tom King. I'm not trying to say any of that. I'm just trying to give my view as a fan of what I think would help and make Tom King's comics better, because some of them I really like and some of them are doozies to read. And I feel like, from my perspective, it seems like he's better when he does the more fun books. And I'm hoping also him and other comic book writers can realize that there's value in doing these fun books, because some people don't see value in them. They think, oh, only if it's this gritty book that really does a deep dive and makes you think and you have to guess what the book was about, that's the only comics that'll stick with you and have like an actual good story behind it and actually have meaning and value. But no, the fun stories with a good message and make you smile can also have value and be good and be fun and be good books, instead of just, oh, you have to make the next Watchmen. Every single comic you do has to be the next Watchmen. That doesn't have to be the case. And especially when it comes to the characters, like, man, that part pisses me off with Heroes in Crisis, because even with Alan Moore, who, again, fantastic writer, when he would do different characters, he would always write the character how they should be written. Like, whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Superman was still Superman. Very dark stories that happened in that, especially with Mr. Mxyzptlk, but still, that was Superman. That was Superman to a T. He did a great job with Superman there. It wasn't like with Tom King, where he's like, I'm going to do this Alan Moore-esque story that's really bad, and then I'm going to make the characters terrible on top of it. It's like, no, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, it seems like he's kind of stuck in one way, and I'm hoping Tom King realizes he doesn't have to be stuck in a box. He can do many different things. He doesn't just have to be the depressed superhero guy. He can do fun superhero stuff. He can do deep deconstruction if he wants to, but, you know, it doesn't have to all just be one thing. And also, through this, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, oh, every book should be fun and quirky or anything like that. No, of course not. I don't want Squirrel Girl, please God, no. I'm just saying that there's more than Watchmen when it comes to comics. There's more than that. Watchmen is, of course, the gold standard, but there are also books that are just as good as Watchmen that are way different and completely different styled and different tone and everything. But Tom King seems to be stuck on that, like, it seems very much that he wants to be like Alan Moore. At least that's what I get when I read his books, to where I clearly see he's not Alan Moore, and he thrives more when he does the Stan Lee type stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video. I thought it'd be fun to discuss. I always see people discussing Tom King, and I want to put my 2 cents in. Again, generally, I think he's a good writer. I think his dialogue can be pretty rough sometimes, and when he tries to put his story ahead of the characters, that's his biggest fault and where he really messes up. But yeah, please let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think of this video, and what do you think of Tom King? What are your thoughts? I really want to read your comments about what you think of Tom King's comics. Do you like him? Do you hate him? How about this? What's your favorite Tom King comic, and what do you think is his worst comic? I want to hear that, as well as your thoughts overall on Tom King. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.